Let me provide some background information. Both my wife and I are 54 years old, and we've been married for 31 years. She works as an RN at a hospital, and I've been employed by a home builder since I was 18. We have two grown children in their 20s who have moved out of the house. In our mid-40s, we decided to pursue my wife's dream of running a bed and breakfast. We had been casually searching for the right property for years. Eventually, we found a 5-acre piece of land with a home dating back to the 1870s. The original owners were prominent landowners in our area with a substantial agricultural business. Over the years, fewer family members wanted to continue farming, so they began selling off parts of the land. Our town has been experiencing growth, primarily due to its natural beauty and attractions, which have attracted tourists. The farmland along the main roads is getting developed rapidly, however. The property we purchased is away from the highways. Since buying it, my wife and I have been working on renovating the entire house. Some basic maintenance had been neglected, and we're committed to restoring the house to its former glory from 150 years ago while making a living from it. My wife has taken charge of decorating the rooms, while I handle the renovations and pay for materials, as well as any professional help if needed. I'm quite handy, so I do most of the work myself. In recent years, the housing industry has seen substantial growth. We were working tirelessly, and I was earning a substantial income until last year. The pandemic forced us to stop working for a while in 2020, and then we faced material shortages. Throughout this time, my wife, being a frontline worker, worked non-stop at the hospital for 18 months. Last year, she often worked for weeks without taking a day off. The medical staff stayed at the hospital, sharing rooms, and grew very close. They worked in cycles of 4 weeks on and 2 weeks off, starting in March of last year and continuing into the fall, then again after Thanksgiving. After our kids grew older, my wife had been open to working for others if they needed help. She witnessed young parents who couldn't visit their families and would give up her time off to support the staff who really needed it. Others on the team did this too. The whole experience with COVID changed her. Witnessing people being put on ventilators and the deaths had a significant impact. She became a different person, more distant. Our intimacy came to a halt. I thought it was due to her experiences or her age. I tried discussing it, but she told me she just didn't feel the same anymore. We continued to work closely on the house, planning trips to an area in our state known for its large Amish population, renowned for woodworking and sewing craftsmanship. We purchased several pieces of furniture for the bedrooms and handmade quilts. This past weekend, we were preparing for a 3-day trip to buy dining room furniture from that area. I also barter some wood I acquire when dismantling old barns, which I do as a side job. Barnwood is in high demand. However, my boss informed me that everyone would be working the whole week because he managed to get the necessary supplies. I told my wife we could go on Saturday and Sunday, but on Friday morning she informed me that she would still be going with some CO workers because there was a fall festival happening too. That night, I went to a local bar. One of her QO workers approached me, and I asked her if she was going on the trip. She had no knowledge of it. So I texted my wife inquiring if she had arrived safely and who was with her. She responded that her friend, another close friend, and someone named Stevie were with her. I had heard this name mentioned in the past few months and initially assumed it was a woman. I asked her friend at the bar if she knew this Stevie, but she said no, though she mentioned a man named Stephen who worked with them. My wife returned on Sunday afternoon with bags containing tablecloths, napkins, kitchen towels, and more. As she showed me what she had bought, she found a smaller bag within one of the larger ones. After peeking inside, she said, "Oh, not this bag. It's not for us." I decided to let it go. However, later, when I checked the bag, I discovered that she had hidden decorations meant for a man cave dedicated to a college sports team I wasn't interested in. I asked to have a conversation with her, inquiring once more about the people who went on the trip. She mentioned the same 3 individuals. I specifically asked about Stevie, whom we hadn't met. She said he was a woman they worked with. I then revealed the man cave decorations and asked her again who Stevie was. She began crying and confessed that he was a man. And yes, they had been involved in an affair since last year during the hospital lockdown. Now, she's living in one of the completed bedrooms, and I'm in our bedroom. I intend to consult with the lawyer on Monday. I'm uncertain about how to handle the house, the business, and the marriage. To me, it appeared that she was sorry about getting caught, but not for the affair. I asked her if she would end the relationship with Stevie, and she was uncertain. The past few weeks have been quite busy. My work and side jobs have picked up, but my wife and I have been having disputes. I consulted with a lawyer, and after explaining everything, he suggested that we try to resolve our issues before getting him involved. Currently, our house isn't operating as a business, so it can't be sold that way. We'd have to sell it as an unfinished house, which would likely lower the price. We've invested well over $100,000 into the house, not including the mortgage. The lawyer will need to consult with a real estate attorney and possibly a business attorney, so their fees will be substantial. I attempted to approach my wife to see if we could talk. I'm not sure if she's embarrassed about being caught, but she's become quite stubborn. She asked me to leave the house, but I expressed that I had no intentions of doing so. In response, she proposed that I give up the master suite and move into one of the bedrooms. Once again, I told her I wasn't planning on that. She then threatened to move all my belongings into the foyer over the next couple of days for me to decide where I'd stay, so I decided to end the conversation. I went to where I store my supplies and retrieved a new door lock with a push-button keypad, which I had intended to install on the bedroom doors when we had guests. The combination can be changed after each guest. I installed it on the master suite door. The next day, when I returned home from work, I found a series of angry messages regarding the lock. She was furious, exclaiming, "How dare you lock me out of my bedroom?" After going back and forth, I asked if we could please talk, and she finally agreed. Later that evening, we sat down. I expressed how hurt I was upon learning about the affair and mentioned that I wished she had told me she was unhappy. She remained silent, so I continued, stating that as far as I'm concerned, the marriage is over. She simply nodded. I then informed her that I had consulted an attorney, which caught her by surprise. I explained what the attorney had advised, emphasizing that it would be best if we could come to some agreement. Our most significant asset is the house, and selling it would result in a substantial loss. She smiled and claimed, "I can prove that I have paid the mortgage, so the house is mine." I shook my head in firm denial. According to my attorney's clear explanation, the house stands as a marital asset since both our names grace the mortgage documents. In a surprising turn, I unveiled meticulously organized binders showcasing every expenditure I had made on the house's refurbishment, each receipt meticulously filed by room, amounting to thousands of dollars. This revelation seemed to catch her entirely off guard, leaving her visibly stunned. Despite this, she had yet to seek legal counsel. Proposing a pathway towards reconciliation, I suggested that we coexist peacefully, prioritizing the completion of our shared project, the bed and breakfast. Only after its establishment could she potentially buy me out of the business. However, she remained resolute in her stance, adamantly insisting on my departure. Frustrated yet composed, I excused myself to fetch a glass of water, using the brief respite to collect my thoughts. Returning to the table, I issued a solemn warning. If I ever caught sight of Stephen on our property, I would systematically undo all the progress we had made in the house's renovation. Every nail, every screw, every fixture removed and replaced with salvaged materials. It was a last-ditch effort to urge her to reconsider her decisions. In a surprising twist, she initiated a conversation after days of silence. Informed by discussions with our children, she proposed a tentative agreement. We would continue to cohabit until the completion of the bed and breakfast. During this time, she would manage the business, and I would retain a 50% ownership stake. It was an unexpected olive branch, suggesting a glimmer of hope amidst the turmoil. Yet, my stance on Stephen remained unwavering, a point I reiterated firmly. As I contemplated the complexities of our situation, a looming obstacle emerged. The timeline for launching the bed and breakfast extended well into 2023. Significant exterior renovations and landscaping remained pending, alongside the need to designate a living space for one of us within the establishment. The room I currently occupied stood among those earmarked for rental, complicating matters further. In a sudden turn of events, amidst discussions regarding the division of our assets, a task fraught with emotional weight, I suffered another stroke. The abruptness of the episode underscored the fragility of our situation. Thanks to my wife's swift action, her medical training proving invaluable, I received prompt medical attention, though the incident cast a shadow over our already strained relationship. As I embarked on the journey of recovery, supported by my wife's unwavering care, the uncertainty of our future loomed large. Amidst the uncertainties swirling around my wife's potential ongoing involvement with Stevie, Despite her supportive presence throughout my recovery process, there are lingering doubts and questions that tug at the seams of our marriage. Despite her steadfast care during my recuperation, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that there might be more to her actions, particularly her solo excursions during my convalescence. While her attentive demeanor offered solace during my health struggles, those moments of tranquility were punctuated by her unexplained absences, leaving me to ponder whether she was truly committed to our relationship or harboring clandestine connections elsewhere. The past few months have been a whirlwind of emotions and revelations, marked by moments of vulnerability and clarity. As I slowly regained my strength, both physically and emotionally, I found myself grappling with the stark reality of our situation. Despite the facade of stability we had cultivated over the years, cracks began to emerge, revealing the fault lines of discontent and betrayal that lurked beneath the surface. It was during those moments of introspection and contemplation that I began to piece together the fragments of our fractured relationship. The fleeting glimpses of suspicion and doubt that once lingered on the periphery of my consciousness now loomed large, casting a shadow of doubt over the very foundation of our marriage. While I had initially dismissed my wife's occasional absences as innocent respites from the stress of caretaking, the frequency and duration of her solo excursions painted a different picture, one tainted by the specter of infidelity and deceit. Despite my best efforts to rationalize her behavior, the pieces of the puzzle refused to fit neatly into place, leaving me grappling with the unsettling realization that my wife's actions might be driven by motives far more sinister than I had dared to imagine. As I sifted through the debris of our shattered trust, I found myself confronting uncomfortable truths and unsettling revelations that threatened to upend the fragile equilibrium of our marriage. In the midst of this tumultuous upheaval, the specter of divorce loomed large, casting a pall of uncertainty over our once stable union. While the prospect of severing ties with my wife filled me with a potent mix of trepidation and apprehension, the realization that our marriage might be irreparably damaged forced me to confront the harsh realities of our situation head-on. As I navigated the murky waters of divorce proceedings, I found myself grappling with a myriad of conflicting emotions, from anger and betrayal to sadness and resignation. Despite my efforts to salvage what remained of our fractured relationship, the chasm between us seemed insurmountable, a gaping chasm that threatened to swallow us whole. Yet, amidst the turmoil and upheaval, there were glimmers of hope and possibility, faint rays of light that pierced the darkness of despair. With the assistance of legal counsel and a supportive network of friends and family, I began to chart a course forward, one marked by resilience and determination. While the road ahead remains fraught with uncertainty and challenges, I draw strength from the knowledge that I am not alone in this journey. With each passing day, I inch closer to a new beginning, one defined by healing and renewal, rather than pain and regret. And though the scars of betrayal may never fully fade, I take solace in the knowledge that I am capable of weathering the storms that lie ahead, emerging stronger and more resilient than ever before. Upon arriving at the police station, I was ushered into a dimly lit room, furnished with a table and chairs, where a pair of officers began probing me about a man from my wife's workplace, an individual with whom I hadn't interacted since our company's Christmas festivities nearly 2 years prior. Their persistent questioning left me befuddled, my responses reduced to a bewildered, "What are you talking about?" As the interrogation stretched into its second hour, punctuated by the officers' intermittent exits and returns, I found myself grappling with a rising sense of unease. Then, with an air of theatricality befitting a cheesy cop drama, they presented me with a video clip on a tablet, a damning piece of evidence depicting my wife in a compromising position with her coworker. The shock of the revelation triggered a violent cascade of emotions, culminating in a crippling panic attack that left me gasping for breath and struggling to comprehend the magnitude of what I had just witnessed. Despite the paramedics' urgent recommendation that I seek medical attention, my singular focus remained fixed on locating my missing wife and son. With trembling hands and a heart heavy with dread, I declined the offer of hospitalization, determined to confront the unfolding crisis head-on. The officer's subsequent revelation that the man in the video had been discovered battered and bloodied in his own driveway, the victim of a brutal assault, only served to compound the chaos swirling around me. Faced with mounting concerns for my family's safety, I hastily made arrangements for my son's temporary accommodation with our neighbors, before hastily gathering a few essentials and fleeing to the relative sanctuary of my parents' home, a 45-minute drive away. As I navigated the winding roads that stretched between me and the refuge of my childhood abode, my mind buzzed with a maelstrom of questions and fears. Where was my wife? Was she safe? And what dark secrets lay hidden beneath the veneer of our seemingly idyllic marriage? Hours stretched into an agonizing eternity as I awaited any word from my estranged spouse, her once familiar voice reduced to a distant echo as her phone stubbornly refused to yield any sign of life. With each unanswered call and unanswered plea, the gnawing sense of dread that gripped my heart only intensified, casting a pall of uncertainty over the fractured remnants of our shattered lives. I made contact with the officer who provided his card, and he confirmed my wife's presence at the hospital alongside her affair partner. Presently, I'm lying in bed, flanked by my son and my racing thoughts. Meanwhile, my father dozes in his chair, clutching his phone. Sleep has eluded me for over 30 hours. I feel adrift, uncertain of where to begin. Addressing skeptics of my account, I express a genuine wish for it to be untrue. Real-life events can sometimes surpass fiction in their incredibility. Regarding the incident, it appears many details remain undisclosed due to its sensitive nature. Despite earlier assurances, law enforcement's actions have left me skeptical. Following my recovery, I sought guidance from my uncle's law partner, who is now representing me in divorce and criminal matters. We've secured emergency custody and a protective order, with a court date set in 60 days. My wife, served with the order as she left the psychiatric hospital, is now with her parents. Communication between us has ceased, leaving me to ponder whether it's due to shame, indifference, or the restraining order. Despite the turmoil, I find solace in the revelation of my wife's true nature, though I regret not recognizing it sooner. A candid conversation with my son revealed the extent of his emotional distress, a revelation that shook me to the core. Upon sharing my son's distressing account with my attorney, we swiftly leveraged it, coupled with my wife's unstable mental state, to secure emergency custody. As we embarked on finding therapy resources for him, our focus shifted to his well-being, with therapy sessions slated to commence in the new year. Wrestling with feelings of inadequacy, I found myself engulfed in the throes of despair, grappling with the enormity of the situation. Our familial ties were further entangled in the turmoil when my wife's parents reached out, expressing a heartfelt desire to visit. Despite granting them permission, I stipulated that my wife could not be present. Their visit, fraught with raw emotions, proved to be the most emotionally taxing experience amidst this tumultuous journey. Meanwhile, my legal team pursued leads with unwavering tenacity. The discovery of my wife's affair partner's extensive criminal past sent shivers down my spine, unearthing a troubling narrative of pills, related offenses, and past gang affiliations. The revelation that my wife's infidelity was an open secret at her workplace shed light on the circumstances surrounding the incriminating video. Amidst these revelations, I found myself enveloped in a profound sense of numbness, struggling to reconcile the fragments of my shattered reality. As I grappled with the weight of it all, the path to emotional recovery remained elusive. However, amidst the darkness, a glimmer of hope emerged from the progress my son made in therapy. Conversations with his therapist illuminated the depth of my wife's mistreatment, underscoring the urgency of his healing journey. Thus, while the journey ahead remains uncertain, I find solace in the unwavering support of this community and the resilience of my son as we navigate the turbulent waters of upheaval and transformation. Upon entering the room at the police station, I found myself in a state of bewilderment, surrounded by stark walls and a table with accompanying chairs. The officers wasted no time in bombarding me with inquiries about a man my wife worked with, someone whom I hadn't encountered or conversed with since our company's Christmas celebration in December 2019. Their questions, probing into the duration of our acquaintance and the manner in which I came to know of him, left me utterly perplexed. In response, I could only muster a bewildered, "What are you talking about?" After about an hour of fruitless interrogation, I grew weary of their incessant probing, instead repeatedly pressing them for information regarding the whereabouts and safety of my wife and son. This cycle of questioning and evasiveness persisted for roughly 2 hours, with the officers intermittently exiting the room for brief intervals before resuming their inquiry, akin to a cliched scene from a crime drama. It was during their final visit that they presented me with a chilling video on a tablet, depicting my wife in intimate proximity with the aforementioned colleague. In that moment, a wave of disbelief washed over me, and all I could manage were repeated exclamations of, "What the heck is this?" before succumbing to a severe panic attack. As the paramedics tended to me, my mind struggled to grapple with the surreal turn of events. My blood pressure soared to alarming heights, prompting the paramedic to suggest a hospital visit, a suggestion I adamantly declined, driven by the urgent need to locate my wife and son. Once the initial frenzy subsided, the officers reluctantly divulged that the man in the video, my wife's alleged paramour, had been discovered that morning, brutally assaulted in his own driveway. Though alive, his condition was critical, with his survival uncertain. Upon securing consent from his wife, authorities scrutinized his electronic devices, unearthing the incriminating video involving my wife. Subsequent revelations only served to compound my sense of disorientation and disillusionment. Contrary to the officer's earlier assertion, my wife was not at the hospital accompanying her purported lover. Instead, she had been admitted to the psychiatric facility of the same hospital earlier in the day. It was a baffling revelation, one that cast doubt on the credibility of the authorities' narrative. What motivated them to fabricate such a tale remained a perplexing enigma, further exacerbating my already deep-seated skepticism toward law enforcement. Upon regaining consciousness, I wasted no time in seeking counsel from my uncle's law partner, a trusted confidant and legal expert. His visit to my parents' abode marked the genesis of a legal odyssey, as his entire firm rallied behind me, poised to navigate the labyrinthine complexities of divorce and criminal defense. It was under his tutelage that I mustered the courage to initiate legal proceedings, embarking on a quest for justice and closure. In the days that followed, my life became ensnared in a web of legal intricacies and emotional turmoil. The issuance of an emergency custody order and a protective order, safeguarding my son, myself, and my parents, heralded a new chapter fraught with uncertainty. Despite the prevailing chaos, my resolve remained unyielding, fortified by the unwavering support of my legal counsel and the enduring love of my family. As the wheels of justice churned, revelations regarding my wife's infidelity and the sordid past of her alleged paramour surfaced, shedding light on the intricate web of deceit and betrayal that had ensnared us. The discovery of his extensive criminal record, replete with drug-related offenses and ties to organized crime, served as a stark reminder of the perilous depths to which our lives had plummeted. Amidst the legal tumult, a semblance of closure emerged with the sale of our marital property, a symbolic gesture heralding the dawn of a new era. Yet, the scars of betrayal and deception ran deep, leaving me grappling with a maelstrom of conflicting emotions. Though relieved to sever ties with a spouse who proved to be a stranger, I couldn't shake the gnawing sense of betrayal that gnawed at my soul. In the aftermath of the storm, the daunting task of rebuilding my shattered life lay before me, a daunting odyssey fraught with uncertainty and trepidation. Yet, buoyed by the unwavering support of loved ones and the fortitude forged in the crucible of adversity, I embarked on a journey of self-discovery and redemption, determined to emerge from the ashes stronger and wiser than before. Since my initial interview with the police, there have been no further developments on that front. Regarding my soon-to-be ex-wife, I hadn't encountered her since the day of my questioning until Thursday. She attempted to reach out to me several times, but I chose not to respond. Even when she called from a different number, I promptly ended the call. I have no interest in engaging in conversation with her or entertaining anything she has to say. Her lawyer requested a preliminary hearing for our court-appointed mediation, which took place in the second week of January. Despite wearing a mask, it was evident that she didn't look well. My soon-to-be ex-wife, once an attractive and athletic woman, has visibly lost a significant amount of weight, a cause for concern. Throughout the meeting, she appeared unwell and fragile, avoiding eye contact and keeping her gaze lowered for the most part. Their requests during the meeting bordered on the absurd. They sought visitation rights during the divorce proceedings and proposed shared custody afterward. Additionally, they requested that we drop the orders of protection. To add insult to injury, she even suggested the idea of living together until the divorce is finalized, a proposition that I found utterly unbelievable and disrespectful, leaving me with a pounding headache throughout the meeting. However, the highlight of the meeting came when we disclosed a surprise to her lawyer during discussions about asset division. My lawyer's reaction was one of astonishment as he questioned, "What division of assets? Read the prenup." The look on her lawyer's face was absolutely priceless.